in the Hood With It collective clips. We're going to get back into another one, tell another story, man. They made him scream, most definitely, right? Now, this story I'm going to tell, it's an actual, factual, true story. And it's something you don't see every day, but it didn't boggle my mind when it happened. It happened. But I remember it was crazy. I remember the whole situation of the institution, the prison. Everybody was kind of tripping like, damn, they're doing it like that. But of course, if you know anything about skinheads, woods, and you've done time with them, then you understand they move violently and viciously. Them woods, brother, are on a menudo level and a whole style and a different. Them vatos are different, right? They're definitely not anyone to be fooled with. You can't play with them, man. You can't disrespect them. You can't step on their toes. And, I've always been of the assumption that the white guys, although people talk a lot of shit and like to disrespect them and think that they're not about that, though that only leads me to believe that they've never done time with them. They don't really know how these guys get down, the true get down of how these white boys play, man, because they don't play. So anyways, trip out on this story because it's facts. So there was this younger white guy. He gets locked up. Now, this is out of state. I was doing time out of state, different prison. So let me give you the makeup of the way the system was compared to how California's system is, right? Yes, you hung with your own group. Yes, there was kind of racial lines divided. Whites hung with whites for the most part. Blacks and brothers, did their thing, north and south. Everyone kicked it with your own people because that's who you identify with. That's who you're most familiar with and comfortable with. But it was one of those places where you could familiarize yourself with everybody. You could talk to whoever the fuck you wanted to. If you were a white dude, a wood brother, and you wanted to sit at a black dude's table and play spades or dominoes, no one tripped on it. No one really gave a fuck. Just at the end of the day, and if something popped off racially, you knew where you were and who you stood for and what you had to do. Prison is prison, man, and no matter what state you go to, man, there's racial barriers, racial lines. Just the way it is, man. I hate that it is that way, but I'd be fucking fabricating and lying if I told you it was different. That's how it is. So anyways, this youngster gets locked up. He's a white guy. And, he got locked up with the mind frame and the thinking that he was just a white guy going to do his time. I think he had a couple years. I'm not sure what he was in for, man. I didn't get too in depth on him. I just know that he was a youngster and he was easily pacified with being able to kick it with whoever he kicked it with. And there's a lot of guys, they're all tatted down, blasted, horns on their head, swastikas everywhere. So when he sees the white guys like this, he's pretty intimidated, but at the same time wants to hang with the fellas because when you're running and gunning out there on the streets, and if you commit crime and you elevate yourself all the way to the level of prison, you're not a nice guy. You're not a good guy. You've done something along the way. Now, there are guys that go in there on faulty crimes, weirdo shit, and of course, they're a whole different category. But this youngster wasn't in on a bad crime, wasn't a weirdo like that. He just was a little weaker than you would expect. But I've seen a lot of guys go in there like that with a different mentality, just like the movie Shot Caller, man. They're not taking no shit. They're not starting no shit, but they're not going to take it either. And you see what happened in that movie. Although it was just Hollywood in a movie, it does happen. That's based on true events, things that will happen in life. If you've been there, you know. You can see a guy softer than Charmin, man, and he comes out harder than concrete. It's just a mentality. And if it's instilled and you're educated by the right ones and you do time, just because a motherfucker, wasn't out there really wiggling in a certain fashion doesn't mean he's a sucker or a punk. It just means, that's what he was doing in his life. Anyway, so this youngster gets locked up. And from a distance, you can tell that he's not really with the racial program. He's not really with the swastikas and the skinhead mentality. And this is more based on skinheads rather than woods. I've said, and I've spoken on it before, and I think Dubs just did a video on it. Go to the Dubs channel. The difference between woods and skinheads, brother. Right? Skinheads are a political group with an agenda. Oi, oi, oi. They do their thing, right? A lot of them have their ways of thinking, and you can't change that. You can't change their mindset and what they got going on. A lot of people think that the skinheads are just a white, a Nazi group, but that's furthest from the truth. There's black skinheads. Oh, you didn't know that, huh? There's Mexican skinheads. There's a lot of different skinheads. Anyways, it's more of a ideology, way of thinking rather than a gang. But when they're incarcerated, of course, they do come together as a gang, and they're considered a hate group, an STG group, a security threat group. And it is what it is. Anyways, this youngster found himself hanging around with them rather than just the woods. Now, you could tell he listened to a little Mac Dre when he was out there. You could tell, You know, he wasn't really a racial guy, didn't have the tattoos, the identifying marks, wasn't wearing boots with suspenders, didn't have his head skinned. He wasn't doing any of that, but he was hanging around with that group, so everybody considered him one of them. You know, you are who you flock with. If you kick back with the Norteños, doesn't matter. Southerners are going to consider you either a sympathizer, a loyalist, or someone that's within their movement. And the same thing goes on the other side, right? On the Southern side, not the other side, right? If you're on the Southern side and I see you from a distance and you're hanging around with them, you could be a paisa, you could be a white guy. Automatically, I'm going to put you in that same boat to mix up, right? It's going to be that no matter what. So in prison, one thing you have to do is watch who you kick it with, especially in a state like this, because it was a lot different than California, where you automatically know where you got to go. You automatically know who you can and can't talk to. And it's very respectful, and you have to keep it a certain way. And if you cross those barriers, step over that line in the day room, shit's going to crack off and pop off. You pretty much know. Your people let you know right from the gate. You know, there's a fucking day room. We're on this side of it. If you cross that line when you're going to your cell, you're going to no man's land, that's it. And they're going to put something in you. Period. You know, they're going to take you as a threat. And if you're looked at as a threat, man, then they're going to do some bad harm to you. Anyway, so this youngster gets in there with that mentality of he's just trying to do his time, but at the same time, he wants to be one of the fellas. Now, one thing about the skinheads is they're not to be played with. They're not to be joked around with. They're firm believers in their cause and what they got going on. And let me tell you something, brother. Let me tell you something, Mean Gene, right? When you're dealing with the white aspect, if you don't really know, you'll never know. If you're not part of that group, you know, or have never done time with them, then you automatically assume, you know, a lot of people like to think that the white guy is a victim. You know, even though they're the majority in America, they like to look at him as a victim. You know, you automatically think blacks are harder, Mexicans are harder. But every man is a man. They got the same type of blood going through their veins. And especially if they got that hatred instilled in them and they're a believer in their political agenda, man, that's a person you don't want to run into or you don't want to fuck with. So anyways, this kid's hanging out with them and he starts to fuck up. You know, he's hanging around with the blacks a little too much. And like I said, in this system, you can hang around with and talk to whoever you wanted to talk to. But one thing about the skinheads or the Nazis, let's just say the Nazis, man, that had that type of idealisms, you know, they didn't do that. They didn't do that. They stuck to their own pretty hardcore, their own little group. They didn't fuck with anyone else. They did business with other races. They did business with other ethnicities. But they didn't just chill and eat sopas together. It wasn't none of that, right? It was more of a YA mentality. You stick with your own, but you can fucking talk to whoever you want to. So anyway, this youngster was fucking up by kind of affiliating with the blacks. He went to go play basketball a few times with them, played chess with an older black guy, was talking to a lot of the Southsiders, which in this particular place, the Southsiders were cool with the whites, so it was all good in the hood there. But some of them guys started to question, you know, why he was even hanging around with the skins, why he wasn't just over there pushing with maybe the Irish Prides or pushing with just regular Woods. You know, he was hanging around with, you know, pretty much the hardcore of the hardcore. But to each their own, man, he was going to learn the hard way. They were going to make him scream. Now, what happens is he did something, man, that they didn't see, that they deemed bad, right? Now, in this state, they wouldn't just fucking plaquear you, jump you, cut you, and remove you off the yard. It wasn't like that. It was kind of cleanups, kind of like the youth authority mentality. You had to clean it up. You had to get on the front lines. You had to do a movida, maybe a stabbing or bringing dope or whatever it was that you're going to have to do in this prison. This is what that youngster signed up for. This is what he was going to do. So one of the guys that was there comes in and he's big time, right? He slides right in with the group of the skinheads and he's kind of like, I won't say he was a shot caller, but he was definitely someone that was held in high regard within that movement. He was someone that was recognized as being that from the streets, and a lot of the dudes looked up to him. And I remember when he got there, a lot of people were like, wow, man, you know, that guy right there is somebody. You could just tell by his movement, the way he acted and carried himself, his charisma, everything about him said, this motherfucker's for reals. He don't play. Well, anyways, this youngster he knew from the streets, and I guess this youngster had gotten into some type of debt with them. Now, the youngster's already having it bad, and he's already put on frontline status. He's already got to make moves because of some of the things he's done while being there. And now this guy comes in and puts him on the spot, right? Hey, I know you, Esse. I fucking know you. Hey, Wood, get over here. I know you, brother, right? And I guess he owed some money. So that guy was like, this is what you're going to do. The kid didn't have no money. Family wasn't taking care of him. And there's a lot of people in prison like that, man. family you just don't have it. You know, you don't have it like that, man. Now, my group, thank God that I was from, you know, we all took care of each other. If one homeboy didn't have it, or if one homeboy had it, we all had it. And if one homeboy didn't have it and none of us had it, none of us had it. But we tried to make sure everyone ate. You know, everybody had some sopas. Everybody had a jabon, a soap, shampoo, toothpaste. You know, you look out for your gente and you look out for anyone, you know, of a raza descent. So if I seen a Southsider that was struggling in the oil, I would slide him a package and vice versa. It's just the way it is. It's the way it's going to be. Now, if the doors crack, we'll kill each other. But a little piece of soap ain't never hurt nobody. You know what I mean? Wash your balls. I said wash your balls. Right? So that's how that was. Anyways, this guy didn't have much, man. I remember, poor kid, looked dirty, shabby. And these skinheads, man, were pretty well maintained. You know, they were pretty clean, pretty professional in their movements. And anyway, so this dude who had just came in, he tells this youngster, he says, hey, trip out. I'm going to have some dope coming in, right? I'm going to have a couple ounces of black coming in every week or every other weekend. You need to go ahead and be my mule. You need to go ahead and bring that in for me. I'm going to put the chick, she's going to go on your fucking visiting. And because, you know, I mean, I'm not trying to get caught up. Anyways, this kid knew what he had to do. And it was basically bring 2 pieces in every other weekend. So that was fine and dandy. He was with that program and he did that. He did that for a long period of time. And of course, once you're in for a penny, you're in for a pound, right? Meaning once you fall into that, what you're doing, you can't just stop. You can't say, okay, enough is enough. I'm scared now, or I'm done, or I think I paid back. You know, once they got you, they got you. That's just it. You know, that's how it is. And people don't understand that just like gangbanging, once you're in the mix, Holmes, once you put your name out there, you're always going to be that. You know, you might be that in great standings or bad standings, but you're always going to be affiliated with that. And there's going to be people that they don't want to hear no bullshit. That's just fucking is what it is. So anyways, this guy is doing his thing. And everybody kind of knows what's going on, but it's none of their business. So they're not saying anything. And there's people that start to feel bad for him. And some of the guys that feel bad for him work in the kitchen with him. And it's a few Southsiders, right? And they take a liking to this kid, man. This kid's not a bad guy. Like I said, he just fucking hung out with the wrong people. And now he's in debt. Now they're working him and they're utilizing him. So anyways, these Southsiders are like, fuck it then. They befriend him and they figure out, he tells them pretty much the whole get down, what he's doing for these guys. So they're like, well, shit, if you're doing it for them, the wind's blowing over here too, Wes, right? Hey, doggy, come here, right? So they get at him like, hey, you could bring a couple things in for us too. A couple zoos and whams for the spoon. Since you're doing it for them, and he agrees. He agrees for whatever reason. They're like, hey, we'll break you off a little bit. You know, they're looking out for him. Where the white dudes, the woods, or not the woods, but the skinheads were just like, we want it all, brother. Oi, oi, oi. Right? They're on some different shit. Some straight gangster shit. The Southsiders are cool. They know how to pacify a person and play the cards right. It's just the way, hey, it's the Mexicano way, right? Thanks, get a little bit for us, a whole lot of it for us, and a little bit for you. Here, get a little taste. Now, get about the little taste, Crucita. ¿Sabes qué? Don't fall on the ground at the art gallery. So anyways, everything is working out. And what happens is these woods or these skins, they have something coming in, right? They have 2 coming in, 2 pieces. And so they tell this kid, hey, she's going to be coming in. She's bringing the 2 pieces, whatever. Well, the weekends had got mixed up. And I guess, he couldn't tell the skinheads nothing. It was when they said it is what he was going to do. I guess the Southsiders had something coming in too. Right? So he had to make his next move, his best move. He's stuck in a rock and a hard place. Do I bring something in for these guys or do I bring something from these guys? Now, he obviously feared these skinheads more because they were threatening him. See, whereas the Southsiders was working with them, man. They were being professional in their willings and dealings and everybody was winning and eating because they were his friend. They liked them, but they still were fucking going to use them. If he wanted to put himself out there, ponle. The whites were like, brother, do it or else, right? And he didn't want that. He didn't want the mega powers to explode on him. So what he did was he went to Visita, and of course he got the 2 pieces. So when he comes back, he hoops it, whatever. He comes back, he needs to be able to, do his fucking shit, right? He needs to fucking take it out of him or whatever. And usually anyone who's done hooped, if you've been on a level 3 or level 4, you're in the California system or any system, man, you know what hooping is, man. You know about properly securing your load. You know about properly securing your pedazo, your piece, your bundle, whatever it is you have, right? Don't act like you haven't did it if you're on them yards. Anyone that's been on a 3 or 4 yard and that's never hooped anything, you're lying, homie. Stop lying to yourself. So, okay, you put it all the way up in your rectum. It's just what it was, right? That's part of the game, and it's a struggle, right? It's a bad part of the game, but it's something that you have to live with it and deal with it and just understand that you're doing it for a greater cause rather than just yourself. If you're doing it just for yourself, Sasuke, you're on the wrong channel. You need to go over on Brick Baby and Crip Max channel and get an interview, no pumper. But anyways, on this channel, we don't do it like that. I keep it real, and I'm going to tell you, man, everyone has secured a bundle once upon a time if you were really living that life. Now, this kid comes back with the 2 secured, right? Should have just did his drop, slid it out the door. There you go. But again, these Southsiders were under the assumption that he brought their shit in. Okay? So now he's in a rock and a hard place, right? Well, the Southsiders kept coming up to his door. Where's it at, homie? Where's it at, homie? Where's it at? And he felt threatened by the mannerism in which they were displaying. They never acted like this with him, but now they were like, hey, homie, you know what I mean? So it's been 24 hours. Listen, your bowel movements better bow down to the West Side Connect. So anyways, because these are his friends, he thinks that they're going to protect him, that they're going to look out for him. Little does he know that befriending and all that was just part of the game to utilize this guy. I mean, they liked him and everything, but says, he ain't them. He ain't part of their shit. So he slides these 2 to the Southsiders instead of the white boys. Right now, the whites are coming to his door too. Hey, brother. Oi. What's going on? Just got your shit yet? Right? And he keeps procrastinating. So he has to basically deal with the lesser of 2 evils. What's he going to do? Rock in a hard place, gente. What would you do? You got the white guys over here, you know the Texas Chainsaw Massacre shit, right? And then you got Southsiders over here, you know Mexicans know how to use knives, right? Poor kid was put in a position. He should have just been truthful, been like, hey, this is what happened. Hey, you know, it got all mixed up. But because he gave the Southsiders the white guy shit, now you're going to cause bigger problems, right? So anyways, the white guys go get at the Southsiders because they know that they're working him too. And they're like, and he's like, did he give you anything? Now the Southsiders, they're not trying to get involved in white business. They're like, nah, man, it wasn't our weekend. Knowing already shit's already getting fucking bubbling in the spoon. And that right there, by them not telling these skins, you know, hey, yeah, he shot us 2 of these, right? They would have probably still killed him, but it just was what it was. Anyways, these skinheads got tired of waiting. It was about 72 hours, about 3 days. I remember the winds blow. I remember precisely. God, I remember it. About 24 hours later, after about the 4th day, you know, these whites ain't playing no more. So what happens is this. They sent 2 guys in a cell. And these guys subsequently have been convicted. They're doing life. I think one of them's on death row. The other one's doing life. They ran up in a cell, gente. And what they did was they decided to hold him down and rip his guts out, looking for their 2 pieces, you know, their 2 ounces of black. They tore his guts. They went in from his anus and ripped his guts out, right? I hate you know, I know it's graphic, but it's real. That's part of life. That's part of prison. That's part of not keeping your word. That's part of, you know, finding yourself involved in a situation you shouldn't be involved in. Anyways, they ripped his whole insides out. People on the tier could hear him screaming, begging. They did this while he was alive. Of course, he bled out. There was guts, blood, everything all over the cell. When the cops went in there, they couldn't believe it. They never seen nothing like that. I guess all they seen was guts and blood everywhere. Couldn't find him. These guys had drug him down the tier, threw him in a trash can. It was another 24 hours before he was discovered. They thought they knew he was hit. They knew he was dead. They just didn't know where he was. They found him. It was tragic. Tragic that this youngster just doing 2 years and he was almost at the gate. He was less than 90 days at the gate when this all took place. And I remember it was a big case. They locked everybody down, man, interviewed everybody. No one seen shit, didn't hear shit. At least I know I didn't see shit. But I heard them screams. I'll never forget them screams. They weren't a scream of panic. They were a scream of terror, horror. You know, I think the guy probably fucking died before they even cut him open from sheer panic and terror. But that just goes to show you, I tell these stories to prevent you from getting yourself caught up in situations. Now, if you're incarcerated, you're out there doing crime, you know, you get locked up, you don't know who to turn to. Sometimes your own people can be your worst enemy. And it happens all the time, you know, but the screaming, to sit here and reflect back and think about it, I'm older now, you know. I was once a youngster getting incarcerated. I was once getting locked up. Thank God my people were more about uplifting and bringing us up rather than tearing us down. Nowadays, it's a little different. Nowadays, man, you better be with the program or they're going to tear your ass down quick. But it's truth, it's facts, it happened. Poor white guy never made it. You know, he never made it. And, you know, it was pretty much set out there from the day one. I seen from the first day that he got there was going to be a wreck. It was going to be bad. And it's just part of the game. Anyways, with that being said, gente, eventually the Soundstars did pay the whites, give them their 2, let them know that they had it. And it all worked out for everyone else. But old boy's guts were left in cell 213. And he was over there in the trash can. And that's just the way the game wiggles. We came off lockdown 2 days later. And guess what? They gave me an extra sack lunch. And I was happy and time moved on. And with that being said, truths and facts right here on the Collected Clips, man. Thumbs up or thumbs down. Heavy's going to be the head that wears the crown. I'm going to continue to strive and struggle and struggle and strive to bring you the best possible content and the realest possible content I can. Facts and truth, man. What would you do, gente? Bang, bang. The gun.